Hello, this is Paul Milligan for ISE Show TV at ISE 2020. Thanks for joining us for another one of our panel discussions. This one is entitled, How Can We Improve the Relationship Between Integrators and Consultants? So it promises to be quite an interesting one for many of you. Joining me, nearest to me is Duncan Cave from Integrators Universal AV. In the middle is Kevin Madeja from Integrators Snelling. And at the end, representing consultants is Christian Bozeat from Macon. So welcome, gents.
Thank you.
First of all, start with you, Duncan, I guess, you're nearest to me. How would you assess the current state of the relationship between integrators and consultants? Is it healthy? Is it unhealthy?
From our point of view, I think it's a bit unhealthy, to be honest. We don't seem to get many consultants coming to us and asking our advice. That's mainly where we're coming from at the moment. We want to engage with the consultants.
And it's been like that for a while?
Yeah, we find that for a while. It's not really going to engage with us on big projects.
Sure. Kevin, how do you find it? How's your working relationship with consultants?
It depends on the consultant, to be honest.
Okay.
There are some that work in a very collegiate way and try and go, to your point, work as a team to produce a good product. There are others that are just used as a means to do cost accounting and keep the integrator under control. So there's definitely room for improvement there.
Sure. Christian, it's only fair to give you right of reply, I guess.
Firstly, I'm sorry for that. But I don't necessarily disagree with you, and that actually sometimes the relationship is. With some consultants, as you say, it's not all, and we pride ourselves on trying to be open and work with partners. I think there's a lot of pressure, and sometimes integrators misunderstand from a consultancy what we've been asked to do. I also think sometimes the process is a little misunderstood from a systems integration perspective, and sometimes the process actually doesn't benefit any of us. And so the construction process in the UK, for one, is a challenging piece, and CDP is a very interesting part of that. So that's a contractor design portion for those that don't know, which pushes the responsibility for the design back down the line from a design that's done by a consultant to the systems integrator. And I sometimes think that can pull a bit of pressure on the relationship. So I think if we can work on those and that element, the relationship can get better, because it should be better. It should be much better. We need each other.
Yeah, and that the market is in such a state now. It's very competitive. End users are looking for value for money, and we're supposed to provide that. And if you don't work together, and you have to be, it's a whole process from the user engagement, whether it's directly with the consultant, which usually is the case now on bigger projects, and that's got to be followed through all the way. And then, as you say, when you're looking at, maintenance, and you're looking at what do you do when the equipment needs to be disposed of? I mean, that all needs to be thought about. And unless you look at it as a whole process, you don't have a chance of being successful.
Yeah, and sometimes that's very difficult for a consultant, because you're given in the same way that you get a document to respond to. We're given the same thing a lot if we're actually working to a construction project. What's much better, and I think much healthier, is when we're working directly with a client for a longer term piece, helping them understand their needs, their strategical AV needs, and then we can start to bring in partners to work with that, rather than it being, here's a construction project, we've done a design, here's a tender, thanks very much.
We tend to find if we ever get a consultant document, it's very obvious what products they want you to suggest.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's almost like they've been working with someone else and you're just a second quote sometimes, or it's so brief. It's like the client wants this, and it's like,
Well,
where do I go
what
from?
you perhaps don't know about me is that I spent a long time of my life on your side of the fence. And the reason that I came this side was to stop that sort of thing, because I didn't feel that was the right way about things. You're right, sometimes you'll see a specification and it looks like it's been, hold on a second, that's directional. But I think it's important to understand that with technology as it is, if a consultant is doing their job right now, there is no room for approved or approved like or approved or similar or approved. if you go through the process properly, every device should be tested before it hits the network and before it comes to you. So that should hopefully make essentially a detailed bill of materials for you to respond to, which makes it easier for apples assessment.
The other thing, though, that really would help from a consultant would be, what is the intent of the system?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times you get a schematic, you get a kit list, and, you know, bid on, quote on this. Well,
anyone can bid on it.
you can bid on it, but what is it supposed to do? And we have experience as integrators on, well, actually, there's another product that will do that better or cheaper or easier to integrate or maintain.
So you're just giving a list of kit rather than actually outlining the objectives in terms of what they want to achieve.
I've seen those, and you do get just a list of equipment, a system schematic, and some text that's a bit, can be generic sometimes.
Vague, isn't it, as well?
And ideally what it should have, you know, we have a minimum set of documents, which has a set of schematics, which you should be able to read like sheet music, hopefully, if we've done it right. A bill of materials, a performance specification, so a written scope of what it's supposed to do and which area is supposed to how it's supposed to function, not just it's got a screen on a wall type thing. Time frames as well, and exactly the build processes that we expect and that we'd like to see delivered. So you're right, the more information we can give you, the better and hopefully easier that should be it. But you know, it isn't always the case for, I certainly, when I was on your side of the fence, the time frame sometimes and the expectations of a client to be able to deliver, certainly within a construction process, that's where the pressure gets put.
So if you were to do a system design for someone and then send it out to integrators to quote on it, how open would you be for the integrators to come back and say, well, actually, this would work better and that would work better, and then you've got to go back out to all the other integrators that you sent it to get it back, or would you?
It depends what we've been contracted to do.
Yeah.
So ideally, in a situation like that, you would have a testing process. So the client would have, just like they have with their IT hardware, a testing process for their AV. So you've selected X screen and Y codec. You should test those together, sandbox them, put a proof of concept together, make sure it functions, does what it says on the tin, and make sure it provides the solution the client wants, and then you get that. So if you've got that and that testing's been done, then there should be no requirement for you to look outside of that. And I'm trying to get an apples for apples proposal for the client back on that. Now, if that's not what we've been asked to do, and the client only wants a performance specification, then obviously you respond with alternatives.
So you do all that testing before you send
ideally,
it out?
Ideally, that's you know, where you can and where you can help influence clients' understanding of the processes that they should go through, because AV has historically been a little bit behind our IT cousins, and their cultural way of dealing and delivering and processing. And yes, it's not getting released until I've tested it. You know, you can't change the specification of a laptop within a client, and these tools are essentially that within a business these days.
See, the tricky thing though with that, and we're still looking at it kind of the consultant first, and then the AV integrator gets a look. I'm much more for an iterative relationship, right? Where you get the specification, but you get the background of what your brief was, right? So we can understand. We can understand the client wants to use this product set because of these reasons that we're not aware of, even though there might be technical or commercial reasons to use other products. And it's also trying to be in a position where I've been in it, where we've made recommendations and just, you know, upset the apple cart, right? And now you got everybody mad at you. So it's that working together.
I mean, something I hear a lot, and I feel quite often, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like it's down to a question of access. When I talk to integrators, they say, we just want access to the end user because of have those conversations about what is the objective and stuff. And sometimes they feel like they don't. I mean, do you think that's fair?
I think it's. I keep telling the people that I sell to, I can sell you any screen, but I don't know how you're going to use it once you put it in. I don't know what your process is for having meetings. Really, I can tell you're going to come along and sit around a table and talk, but what equipment you bring into it or how you use that interactive screen, I'll tell you how to use it because that's what I do. But how you use it in an everyday business is another matter, isn't it?
That's a key point, actually, because one of the things that has to happen is the understanding of what we bring and what you guys bring. I don't sell hardware, but a lot of systems integrators will do designs. that to me is the same issue the other way
So
around.
are
So if you're
you
doing
governed
design
by what
work-
hardware you sell in that case?
Sorry?
Are you sort of governed by what hardware, or do you come to a show like this and say, I've seen this
It
switch?
depends
I've
on the
seen
client,
that?
and it depends on the
Okay.
needs of the client. So we would do what you said there is we would go and understand and work with the client to understand their working processes, define their use cases for their different types of rooms, but also run the proof of concept and then define the working processes that can be rolled out with the hardware. Now, then we know what that room type does and what it's supposed to
But
do.
surely that process will change if they get a certain screen that they didn't know how to function beforehand.
But we have taken them through the process of understanding how they're working in that
And
space.
was that product demonstrations as well?
Yeah, also, and proof of concepts. Yeah, we'll put two things against each other, test them in teams. All those sorts of things will come together to produce a design. Now, you're right about access and working as that team. Sometimes we'll work on a project where we're helping with the strategic approach to AV and technology deployment. We don't get anywhere close to the designs. We're just talking about what infrastructure they need, what teams they need, what support needs, workflow pieces. And so we'll work along that. We might even work with another consultant doing a standard design, but we've specified the direction. We might be doing the other way around. But it's key to understand that we bring something that is useful to the party, and that we understand the need for you, because I don't install it. I don't install any hardware, and so we're here to do design and strategy and that level of consulting, which I think if there was more understanding of that would help the relationships a lot more.
So you'll have that understanding, because if you've been an integrator and done that, you know how that kit's going to go together and how it's going to be installed. So you've got that. It's the people. It's the people just give you the kit list.
That's what I was going to say, Duncan. In your experience, is Christian a rarity in terms of the people who've worked both sides? Is that maybe what's causing some of the problem?
I think for Christians to do that, to work on both sides, it's great.
Yeah.
I've done both sides. I've done installation, I've done project management, and then I've done sales. And to see those, when you go in a room, what it's going to be, how long it's going to take to install, and you can advise people better. So for having all that skills, it can only add to.
Kevin, what is your preference? Would you prefer to work direct with a client rather than a consultant involved?
Well, I actually like working with consultants. The reason is because, to be quite frank, you can, if you're working together, you can, let us say, steer the end user into the correct design decisions, right?
So you've got more people on your side
exactly.
working towards the same goal.
Yeah, and if we've got a good integrator that understands the process and that understands the quality that's required and works with us to deliver that, the friction is removed, and that's important to make sure that we are working smoothly together. So we don't get the choice of not working with systems integrators, because we don't do the installation piece, and so we have to work with that. And so it's very important for us to foster good relationships, and hopefully for people to go, do you know what? Actually, that's a good way of working.
Well, as long as the end user gets value for money and gets a system or
It's the correct system.
that works for them,
System that's right for them.
everybody wins.
There is one thing, though. We are employed. If we are deployed as a consultant to the client, often that's because they don't have the in-house knowledge to be able to do them things themselves. So there is an element that sometimes we have to protect our client. And so if things aren't being done so well, then and maybe in line with then those things do need to be brought up. So, but
No,
I think if they're done in an
It's got to be
appropriate
done
way, then it was-
up front. I mean, certainly my experience has been we're there to do a good job and a successful job.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, we stand behind it. We deal with it directly.
Yeah.
If you all of a sudden now try to cover your backside, well, then obviously you're going to get the consultant chasing you around, and then that's kind of a path to nowhere.
You want to walk away at the end of the day with a system that's been put in and working, and you can hold your hands up and say that's the best system that could have
And you
gone in
made
there.
some money.
Yeah. Everybody's there to make a living out of it. We're all paying our mortgages. That's important. But you're right. The end part of this is the client and their productivity, because the tools we've got these days can improve their productivity and can improve their business and their staff retention. And so it's important for us to help them see that and to do that in the best way possible for them. And so in that way, we have to be a team to design it and consult along the strategic approaches and then to deliver it, and then to support it as well. So we design the support processes, but it needs somebody to deliver those. I don't deliver the support processes.
So, as a consultant, you've designed it, you've proposed it. Do you then, how far down the line do you stop and just walk away?
Well, it depends again what the client is happy to pay for, and what value they see in that. So often we'll see a tender go out that says, please give us a service cost for a 4 or 8 hour service cost. I mean, for a complex system, that's not really appropriate. So we would suggest to the client that that process should be designed. But there is a cost to actually designing that process, and sometimes there are budget constraints with the client who will go, well, they'll give it for free for me. So one of the things that I think is important to understand from a systems integrator is if you do that design or you do those process designs and give them away for free, you take the value out of them. So the client sees no value in them, and therefore it's free, it's not worth anything, so I don't need to do it. And so that makes it more pressured for me, and that becomes then the site that loop,
that adversarial thing,
and becomes, well, you guys are giving it for free, and that's something that we think is important that we would charge for. So
devaluing the products.
And the services and the importance of AV in general by giving those important services and that knowledge that you have away for free.
Just to wrap things up, gents. Let's treat this as a sort of self-help video. Let's hope the industry is watching. I mean, I'll go down the line one by one. Stop you, Duncan. I mean, is there a message or something that you would like consultants to do, or a message you'd like to kind of make to them that could maybe improve things in the future?
I think we'd like to be consulted more with the consultants. And be on board with them, and not to be seen as a second or a third quote because the first quote is so much, so I'd like.
Sure. Kevin, what would your plea be to
I would use an engineering analogy. I would say that consultants are kind of the impedance matching device between end users and their systems, right, through AV integrators. And it's, as long as that role's understood that it's kind of a two-way street, both to the end user and to the integrator, then it will be much more successful.
Last word to you, Christian. How would you
I think
help the relationship along?
I've mentioned that if there was an understanding that consultants are here to help the clients, and we don't sell hardware. I think that's important to understand that we don't sell hardware, but we do design, and we do help that side of it. And so if there's an understanding that that's what we do, that would, I think, make the relationship a little healthier. Not that it's in a really bad place at the moment. So we've got
Wonderful. That's nice to end on a positive note.
There we go.
Christian, Kevin, Duncan, many thanks for your time, and thanks for joining us in this video. There's plenty more panel discussions from IC 2020 to watch, so hopefully you'll look at those as well. Many thanks. Goodbye.